for week one. What are you doing, Akbar?
I'm going to have to go with Larry Donnell. I mean, we talked a little bit about him last year, but you look at the secondary group for the Dallas Cowboys, and you realize, of course, they lose Orlando Scandrick, and then the linebacker core and the safeties. I just don't know that they're going to necessarily be able to step up and stop a guy like Donnell. And we know how Eli Manning does against the Dallas Cowboys. He always seems to rise to the occasion. This is the guy that's going to benefit from Eli's success.
Akbar, I have a situation like this because I had Julius Thomas and had to go find a tight end on the waiver wire. I didn't go with Donnell. I went with Josh Hill.
Ooh, I like that.
It's an interesting play because last year I had Jimmy Graham in a number of leagues, and it was so frustrating watching these huge plays, and you thought we're going to Jimmy Graham, and then you'd look at it as Josh Hill, and especially this one in particular. I remember him. Is that the one? Okay, that wasn't the one. There was one where he gets into the end zone. It was very frustrating. So I expect him to get his opportunities. They're probably not going to throw it to him as much as they were throwing to Graham last year, but I still expect him to get enough chances to make him a viable tight end option.
And Hill over Watson. Hill over Ben Watson.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Well, I'm going the Bears-Packers game could be one that's pretty high scoring. I know a lot of people out there are a little bit worried about what's going to happen with Alshon Jeffrey. Well, I say you flip it to a guy on the other side in that game. James Jones, just re-signed by the Packers, of course, has a good history with Aaron Rodgers. I mean, these two hooked up for 14 touchdown passes just a few seasons ago. Jones isn't going to give you that kind of production, but he's a guy obviously very familiar with the system, gets to go up against a poor Bears defense. And if you're looking to plug somebody in, if you don't know what's going on with Alshon Jeffrey, James Jones, a nice name off the waiver wire.
I picked him up in every league I could possibly pick him up in as a red zone target. Kendall Wright, nobody talking about the Tennessee Titans. That's understandable. The offense was anemic last year. But Marcus Mariota and Kendall Wright made some sweet music in the preseason. Because he is a diminutive receiver, he suffers from Antonio Brown disease. And that is
What is that?
Well, it's the assumption that because they're not 6'2" and 200 pounds, they're not going to be able to go high point balls and catch them in the end zone. Well, what they can do is what you're watching Kendall do there, and that's elude defenders when they find open space. Because it's Marcus Mariota, he's so fast, you're going to see Lovie Smith have to commit defenders to keeping an eye on him. Love Kendall Wright as a spot start against that Tampa Bay defense.
He has ABD.
That was Fantasy Spotlight presented by Best Buy. He has what?
ABD. Antonio Brown disease.
Exactly.